Hey there, it is Monday, January 16th, 2023, and I'm out here hitting the trail. And the last few days, I feel as though I've been nesting a little bit and like organizing stuff, setting up an office, doing a lot of thinking as I've been hiking about how I'm going to go forward. And yeah, it's been exciting and exhilarating. And oddly, when I typically get in a state like that, everything is chaotic because I typically have so much energy. But it's not. It's just like energy and excitement, and it's not focused in any particular direction. And this time, it's a little bit differently. I was explaining this to Amanda, but as I think about things that I want to do, I don't forget about them once I think about them, and there's like this landscape up in my mind that's being laid as I think about more and more aspects of what it is I want to do. And when I come back and start thinking about it again, the old thoughts are there, and they're in somewhat of an organized fashion. And that might sound very wacky to you, but that's the way my brain works. And I like to lay that out there so that you understand. So anyway, I keep talking very vaguely about what I want to do. And I guess it all started with our trip to, actually probably me turning 50. And that was just over 3 years ago. 2019 was when I turned 50 years old. And I had remembered vaguely back in my upbringing, maybe when I was probably in my early 20s and first started to get ambitious from a business perspective. I'd made the comment several times that I wanted to retire when I was 50. And I made it a number of times, but it was never anything that I really fixated on and something that I put energy behind to try to achieve. But when I did turn 50, some different circumstances aligned. One of the circumstances was Amanda and I had been talking about how to kind of work my way out of the day-to-day operations of Mindscape, because I had, when you own a business, sometimes when you're responsible for a large segment, if you're the face or if you're the one that's out there generating a lot of activity, and then you take that away, the business suffers. And that's never anything I wanted to have happen when I, got distracted or wanted to start to do something else in life. So I decided that was what I was going to start to do in the year 2020. And it all kind of started out, I took a trip out with a buddy of mine from high school in New Mexico, Floyd. And we went hiking in the mountains. I'd never been in the desert before, at least to that extent of exploring the desert by foot. I'd driven through it a few times. But it was just amazing. And right around that time, COVID was just starting to be talked about. I remember going over on the flight, a lot of people had masks on. There was nowhere near a mandate, and it was probably like 2 or 3. And I remember thinking, boy, that's weird, just because it hadn't become normalized. And literally right after I got back from New Mexico, that was when everything went full-born, just lockdown and everything else happened. That's when it really started to sweep across. But kind of that alignment of circumstances, and really when that all happened, we locked down and stayed, at home and didn't go anywhere for probably the first month or two. And then around May-ish, we started to get a little bit antsy. And that's when we embarked upon our trip across the country with Oliver, and just had a fantastic time. But so I think about the time I turned 50, the pandemic kind of right at that same time. And then also as a company, we had been working toward going fully remote as an organization, and our go remote day was April 1st of 2020. And so we'd been working on that for like 18 months, And the biggest concern that we had was, what if prospects or customers won't accept communicating, in video conferencing or using technology to do that? Because yeah, we could be remote at that point, but we would still have to physically be there if they wouldn't embrace that type of technology. Well, I don't have to go any further. We know what happened during the pandemic, and that definitely made the situation a lot more smooth. But anyway, what I've been doing for the last 3 years is really reflecting, getting to know myself, looking back and thinking about the way I was when I was fully engaged in the business world for that, 25, 30 years. And just making observations now that I've got a little bit of distance. Now if I review an email or look at an old article or whatever, I can go back in my mind and remember what it was like to be there at that moment. And I can actually smile a lot of the times because either I thought something that was a huge deal that wasn't really that big of a deal or whatever. But it's nice now that I have that space and distance. And some of it is I'm in my 50s now. And there are a few major things that I've learned over the last 3 years or discovered or whatever for me personally. And I want to talk about some of that stuff because I know there's a lot of other people out there that are in their early 50s, just turned 50, going to turn 50 or 40 or whatever that age of significance is to you, where you feel like you've officially crossed over into the other side of life. But I'm going to start to share some of that information because I've done a lot of the digging. I want to talk about the process that I've gone through to get here. I also want to talk about what it is that drives me and what I hope to achieve from sharing this information. And I just think it's going to be fun going through that story. And it's going to help me because I'm going to be accountable. I'm not just making this video and then planning on, putting it out there and then not doing anything. And I've done that consistently, and I'll talk about that because I think I have an understanding of why that happened. But I literally want this story to unfold, and I want the things that I've learned or picked up on to be able to inspire other people, maybe to share with me what worked for them, or maybe they can hear the context at which I went through a life experience, and maybe it helps them mitigate a little pain because they make a different step or because they have a different understanding of the situation they're facing, whatever it happens to be. But, I've been wanting to do this for a really long time. I've done it in little tranches here or there, whether it was a hiking challenge or whatever. But I think now, as I talk to you about the process that I've gone through over the last few years of aging and trying to reverse that aging cycle, now I want to openly share that information, and I'm excited to do it. So I'm not going to blather on anymore. I'll have another video tomorrow. I'm going to do these when I'm out here hiking because that's when I'm most inspired and when my creativity is at its peak. So I will have another video for you tomorrow covering a little bit about the process that I've gone through and some of the stumbling blocks and hurdles that I've encountered along the way. But thank you very much. And I am definitely loving the fact that I'm living life a brand new way.